Amigos de Aldea Financiera, bienvenidos a esta edición. Estoy muy emocionado el día de hoy. Vamos a tener una entrevista muy especial. Vamos a entrevistar a Robert Althuis. Él es un escritor que tiene un libro que se titula Enoughitis. ¿Qué significa esto? Significa que nunca tenemos suficiente y que esto nos lleva a cometer errores en la vida que nos pueden llevar a no estar felices. Y vamos a hablar sobre él, sobre su historia, sus éxitos y cómo, a pesar del éxito económico que tuvo, llegó a un punto en su vida en donde decidió dar marcha o un cambio muy radical. Vamos a ver cómo tomó decisiones que le hacen ser una persona más completa, más feliz y que también quiere compartirlo con toda la humanidad. Así que hoy vamos a tener a Robert Althuis en esta entrevista. Sin más, vamos a iniciar esta edición de Aldea Financiera. 3, 2. Amigos de Aldea Financiera, estamos en la sección con tendencia positiva y me da mucho gusto el día de hoy poder presentarles a un buen amigo y que además es un exitoso hombre de negocios. Su nombre es Robert Althuis y Robert Althuis es autor de un libro extraordinario del cual vamos a hablar el día de hoy. Se llama Enoughitis y es además un coach de líderes visionarios que buscan propósitos mucho más profundos en su vida. Es escritor, es conferencista, es contador de historias y además es un buscador de la verdad y también humanista. Es un hombre con el que vamos a platicar de una manera extraordinaria el día de hoy y la entrevista va a ser en inglés, pero ustedes van a tener la posibilidad de seguirla con subtítulos en español para su comodidad. Robert, welcome to Aldea Financiera.
Hola, buenos días, Roberto.
Un placer.
That's all my Spanish.
No worries, that is great. It's a pleasure to have you in Aldea Financiera. And if you allow me, I will start this interview asking if you can tell us a little bit who is Robert Althuis and what is his purpose in life.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. So just to go all the way back, I was born in Amsterdam, actually. I was born in Holland. I left when I was 21. I've been in the United States about 30 years. I'm American as well. And I set out, I was a tennis pro for a little bit, and then in my mid-20s, I set out in the business world. I started in real estate in Atlanta, right around the Olympics. I put myself through night school because I had dropped out of school. Just in my end of my 20s, that was very successful, by the way, because the market was very good and you know, I had a talent for it, I had a knack for it, and I had a beautiful mentor in that business that really taught me the ropes of the business, and I was incredibly fortunate that way. I went to Columbia Business School after that, and then I joined GE Capital in in an executive program. And I went on for about 7 years at GE. I became E-band, which is top 1% at 34. And initially I did aircraft deals all over the world. I sold aircraft transactions. I was a structured finance banker, and I would fly all over the world and do fleet campaign deals, which basically means when airlines buy airlines, they usually buy multiple airplanes at a time. So these were very large transactions, very profitable business of GE Capital. And then we went into the airport business, and I got kind of drawn into that because I had a real estate background. And so I invested in various airports around the world, and that's how I got into the infrastructure development space. In the financial crisis, the regulators came in. GE was also wobbling, AIG, Lehman Brothers, but GE had huge funding issues. And in the ensuing years, they would wind down GE Capital. But at the time, I was asked to wind down the business that we had. We did mostly equity investments. It was all cowboy stuff, using the balance sheet of GE to borrow a lot of money and highly leveraged deals. So I sold most of that. We wound down that unit, and I was really redundant at that point. They offered me another job, but I saw an opportunity to buy out a little orphan business that was left over. And that was a real estate development business that was focused on airports. And so I did a buyout with GE in 2009. That's how I became an entrepreneur. And then the first year was actually very, very challenging. It was 2009. Nobody wanted to hear anything about doing any real estate deals anywhere. And then we, an incredible twist of fortune, we won a deal in Bogota. And I built all the cargo facilities at Bogota Airport. I had pension fund investors and local private equity partners. And then we went on to buy parking businesses and all kinds of other stuff. Around 2015, we had built up a fairly substantial portfolio, and like all private equity funds, at some point they want to get out, and so everything that I had developed for them was kind of mature, and they were raising a new fund, and so we exited, and that was kind of an odd situation because I sold basically my whole portfolio, and so it was 2015. I made a lot of money. I had been making a lot of money before that. And I came to this pivotal point in my life. I call it the power crucible now, where I remember flying home from Bogota and I had just made millions. And I flew home. I had an oceanfront community home, a beautiful wife and kids and cars and toys and exotic vacations. And, I was the man. I had made it, right? I had reached the pinnacle. What I set out to do, the American dream, I had reached all of it. And I was completely empty on the inside.
Wow.
Something had died inside of me. And I didn't know how to reconcile that. I didn't know what to do because I had done everything society told me to do to be successful. And I had made it. And yet I was empty. I also had lost all integrity in my life. And I'm a big believer that a man that's out of integrity will leak energy. I was not a faithful husband. I was, scrupulous in business. I was ruthless. I was heartless. There were many different things, and I couldn't see myself in the mirror anymore. I couldn't believe that that's what I had become. Even though I had everything in the material world, I felt this is all an illusion. This is like, because I'm not the man that I respect. This is not the man that my mother raised. This is not the Dutch kid that's set out in the world I've become a monster in ways, right? And we see a lot of monsters around the world these days. And I had swam with the sharks in business, and I had become a shark. And so that started what I now realize is my awakening process. At the time, I had no idea what it was. I thought I was just depressed. And so, I try to figure it out. But really what happened is I went on this spiritual journey, like I did everything in life. And I started reading every book I could, every workshop, every retreat, every online course. I tried everything. I became a yoga teacher. I got my yoga certification. Wow. And slowly but surely, I started seeing that, there's other dimensions to life that I just haven't really lived within. And so I started finding a path, although it wasn't clear yet. In 2017, and this is a beautiful lesson in life, life gives you everything you need. And everything is always in perfect order. So I had a business, I still had some business interests, and I had one business that got wiped out by a hurricane. And at the same time, I had just decided to get divorced. So I was going through a divorce. This hurricane comes, it wipes out a business. It's the only business in my whole life that I've done a full unconditional personal guarantee on. Wow. 3 months later, I was on the edge of bankruptcy. And I was on the edge of bankruptcy for about 2.5 years because the insurance companies didn't pay out. And when a man falls from grace and you're humbled by life, it's a gift wrapped in sandpaper. It's the most beautiful thing that can happen to you because it humbled me to the extent that I had to change myself. I had to transform myself. Amazing. And I had to find purpose in my life, a different purpose than I had before. And so all of that accumulated in me writing a book that really started as self-therapy. That's the book, Never Enoughitis. It journals everything from the beautiful epic rise to success to the epic fall, and then the spiritual lessons, so to speak, the spiritual understanding that helped me basically rebuild and reinvent myself. And then when I was sharing these stories with people, they said, "Wow, man, you should help people with this." And frankly, that's what I do. I'm still active in business. I still have some business interest, but predominantly what I do is I coach. I coach CEOs and corporate leaders and entrepreneurs, to some extent celebrities and athletes, people that are in places of influence and power, because power corrupts people. And it doesn't have to. We see all around us in the world today, we see the abuse and misuse of power. And as people are identified with their ego and not with their soul. And so I show a different way. I call the world I come from is the world that man plays, right? And there's a game that spirit plays too. And when we integrate those, we can bring beautiful things into this world, because we don't have to have wars and violence and hunger. We don't have to have pollution. We don't have to have any of those things. This is a world of infinite abundance, yet we think it has scarcity and lack, which is the root cause of all these things, because we live in fear. We don't live from love. So, I had a heart-opening event, and when I started tapping into my heart, and my heart became the master of my mind, then you look at the world in a very, very different way. And I wouldn't have been able to do it unless I was humbled by life, unless the universe taught me these lessons, which were hard lessons, because I lost a lot of money, and I had to live the life in a fall of grace. I had to taste life with my nose in the dirt. And then from that, we can rise. And I call that Phoenix Rising. That's the third chapter of my book, because everybody has this within them, right? Sometimes we have to burn those things in life that aren't serving us so we can reinvent ourselves and rise to greater levels. And I believe everybody has this power within them. Everybody has this capacity within them. Everybody has, gifts, superpowers, and talents that we can bring into this world. In fact, it's our duty to bring our superpowers into the world. And that's how we access our zone of genius. So I teach people how to access their zone of genius, so they can create beauty and value and bring love and compassion into this world. And we can still have abundance. We still have crazy good businesses. We can still make a lot of money. Those things aren't bad at all.
Correct.
It's just the way we do it, right? We're not here to cause harm into this world. And beautiful. Unfortunately, mankind brings a lot of harm into this world, and I was part of that system. So I teach people how to elevate from that level of thinking.
Yeah, the way you say it is beautiful, and how you change and how you became a better person, and how you're trying to help other people to understand this and see that money is not the only objective in life, that you can find happiness helping others and understanding what is your purpose in life and in the universe. That is so beautiful. In the book, and I will quote if you allow me.
Please.
There is a place which says that when you were trying to do business in Colombia, and it says, which brings us to the true beginning of this tale of pure love, driving ambition, glorious success, ruthless failure, and dark depression, and the journey within that brought me the happiness and peace I had been seeking all along. I love that phrase that you wrote in your book. And and the question that I want to ask you is, it seems like when you are successful and you have made a lot of money and you have enough in life in order to think in other things, it will seems like easy to change and be better. But what can you say to people that is not in that position, that is struggling in life, that is living day by day basis?
So here,
change.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. I appreciate that. So here's what I learned: that you can have all the money in the world and still feel poor.
Correct.
I had millions and millions in the bank, but I didn't feel abundant. Everything is an inside job, and the world is just a reflection of your own frequency, which is thought. Everything is in your perception. Happiness is an inside job. Happiness is an energy within you that when you access happiness, it's going to manifest into this world. You're going to find and see happiness everywhere. When you access your abundance codes within, you're going to find abundance in the outside world. So you don't have to be rich today to be happy. You don't have to be rich today to feel abundant. It's an inside job. You can have 0 pesos in the bank and be wildly abundant. You can also, and I don't know him personally, you could be Carlos Slim and wake up and feel poor.
Correct.
And that sounds really, really odd, but I can promise you, from someone that has had everything in his life, that everything is an inside job. Everything is in your perception of it. Nothing is in the outside world. But our problem with the way our societal and social conditioning, and this is the book Never Enough Items, right? It's never enough.
Correct.
Because when we seek our happiness in the outside world, which could be money, could be love, could be relationships, could be toys, cars, houses, whatever, it's a very fleeting service level of happiness. Because, we're kind of excited, when we're chasing it. And then when we get it, it's fun for a little bit, right? And then we lose interest. This is no different than a kid getting a Christmas present, right?
Correct.
They're super excited when they're unwrapping it and they're all like lit up. And 2 days later, it's somewhere in the corner of the room and they're forgotten about it, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore, yes.
So this is what we do as adults too, because we seek our happiness in the outside world. We're constantly thinking, well, if I have that job, if I have that much money, if I have that house, if I only had that partner, when I find the love of my life, then I'm gonna be happy. But it's never enough. And I say in my book, it's never fucking enough, because this is a disease. That's why I call it never enoughitis. It's a disease. It's a mental disease that we have, that we are seeking our happiness, our joy, our fulfillment in the outside world. It's all inside. Now, once you connect with it on the inside, everything is an automatic reflection. Now, there's some time delay because we live in time space, right? So the moment I'm really abundant, it might take a few months, a year, whatever, we find it in the outside world, but it's inevitable. These are universal laws. When you are an abundant person, you are going to find in the world the abundance that what abundance means to you. And for some person, it's $1,000. For some, it's 100 million, and for some, it's $10 billion.
Correct.
That's just a number. It's just everybody has different desires. But you will not access that abundance on the outside until you find it in the inside. Right? And you will not find happiness until you're happy on the inside. Because when you're happy on the inside, this is called the retinal activating system of our brain. And it's part of our conscious brain. So we have all this data that comes in our five senses. And we only about 10% hits our conscious brain, 90% goes into our subconscious brain. Now, have you ever bought a car, you decided, you woke up one morning, I'm going to buy a red Mini, right? And now when you're driving around, you see red Minis everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
That's the retinal activating system of your brain, because those Minis were there before. You just had no eyes for them.
Yeah, where you focus your energy and your intelligence.
And that's exactly how it works with abundance, with happiness, with love. Because when you have eyes for it, you're going to see it. It's already there. Everything there ever could possibly be is already there.
Totally, I totally agree.
It's like a radio frequency that you have to dial into. So this is why poverty is so pervasive, because they have a poverty consciousness. And it's not that they're bad people. It's not that they don't try. But to them, they are so conditioned by life, by the harshness of their life, that all they see is poverty. So they wake up in the morning and they just see poverty. And so what they find in the world is poverty. But there are examples of people that escape poverty, right? So we have examples, plenty of examples. Those people have cultivated an abundance code within them that they said, I am not that poverty, that's my environment. Me, this is me and that's the poverty, and we're not the same. I'm going to find another frequency. I'm going to dial my radio to abundance and success and happiness and thriving in life. And then when they dial into that frequency, their brain is literally going to scan, okay, how do we do this? And this is the universe basically coming through you. This is the higher intelligence that comes through you, and it will happen.
That is beautiful, beautiful teachings that you are sharing with us. Thank you very much, Robert. And the time is stepping behind us. And I want to ask you, what is next for Robert Althuis? What are you thinking for the future?
Well, I still have a couple more books in me, but I'm really passionate about this. And I see a world today that I don't want my kids to grow up in. And I feel as a father, I have a duty to do everything I can to make this world a better place. So my kids inherit a world that I want them to live in. I don't want them to grow up in a Mad Max movie. and it doesn't need to be this way. So, I see nothing but potential for humanity. I see nothing but upside. I see nothing but positive things, but we have to make different choices, and we have to live in a different way. We have to have reverence for life. We have to have reverence for people and the sanctity of life. We have to live in harmony with the laws of nature, because when we do that, we get health, vitality, abundance, all those beautiful things. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, and my hope and the opportunities that I hope to get is to work with as many very powerful people, because these powerful people have a lot of reach. And so I don't want to run companies myself anymore. I've kind of done that, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But I do want to work with very powerful people, because through them, I can have a lot of influence. And all the solutions are here, right? We have all the solutions to solve every problem on planet Earth. This wasn't like 300 years ago. We have all the technology. We know what we need to do. We just need to go do it. And we need to change the way we live, the way we operate. We have to change our view of life. We have to go back to living, again, in harmony with nature, sanctity of life. Every life is sacred. Every person is unique and sacred. I mean, we just don't look at the world that way. We're so disconnected from our heart, right? And we're so logic-driven. But the mind is the servant of the heart. The heart is our citadel of wisdom.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Great teachings, Robert. And we are at the end of the interview, but for final question, I want to ask you if you can share with us a book that you think has changed your life and the way you see it, because I understand that life has taught you a lot of things, and that's how you have became a better person and a person that wants to share. But is there a book or a movie that has changed your life?
Well, I'm gonna share a couple, because I sort of sense, of course, my book changed my life. No, I'm just kidding.
And I invite everyone that is watching.
But there's a couple books I want to share. There's a couple of books I would really love to share, and I read ferociously. I read 1 or 2 books a week, so I love books. But there's one that I highly recommend. It's called "Blessed Are the Weird," and it's an inspirational book that celebrates your unique gifts. And you are here to bring that into the world. You're not supposed to be normal. You're supposed to be you unique. You have unique talents and superpowers that you are ordained to bring into this world. It's not an accident. There's no flukes or accidents in this universe. You are not here by accident, right? Awesome. And this book is like highly inspirational. There's something called The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav. It's a beautiful book. It's a little deep on the spiritual side, but it's beautiful. There's the book 4 Agreements with the Toltec wisdom.
Correct.
It's next to my bed for the last 20 years.
Really?
I read it occasionally. I think there's always a wisdom teaching there. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And then there's one other that I want to share, and it's called The Way of the Superior Man by David Dito. And this is a manual on the polarity of masculine and feminine energy. And it should be mandatory reading for every man, and actually women too, but it's really written for men, because it will make you understand masculine and feminine energy and how that shows up in relationships. And it will make you an infinite better husband, boyfriend, man in general, lover on all levels. It's a beautiful piece of work.
That's beautiful, Robert. I totally love all that you have shared with us. I will ask you to be soon in another program, because
I'd love to. It's my pleasure.
Time just ended, but it is beautiful all that you have shared. We will put all the books that you share in the description of the program, so everyone that wants to read them can find them easily, as you mentioned them. I truly, it's been amazing having you here. It's been very inspiring. And
thank you.
I thank you for being here in Aldea Financiera in this interview.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And Roberto, let's do it again. I enjoy this, and we have a great friendship that we're developing, and love to do this again. So I'm at your service.
Thank you very much. Y gracias a todos por estar en esta entrevista, y seguimos con más contenidos aquí en Aldea Financiera.
Para muchos, el retiro es una etapa de inacción. Para nosotros, es la etapa de mayor crecimiento personal. acércate a la Pueblita, donde la alegría es un hábito.
Qué impresionante la entrevista de Robert Althuis. Espero que les haya gustado. En la descripción del programa vienen todos los datos de los libros que mencionó y recomendó, así como de su libro en Amazon para que puedan adquirirlo y poder aprender más de todas sus enseñanzas. Les agradezco mucho y por esta ocasión nos despedimos así, no sin antes desearles, ya saben, que todos ustedes tengan un día con tendencia positiva. Hasta la próxima.